Hey, let's continue the conversation now by bringing on two other members of the panel. First, from Newsmax New York, attorney and a political operative who once upon a time worked for Mr. Trump and then went over to Ted Cruz, our good friend Sam Nunberg. And from Newsmax Washington, my old congressional colleague, Michael Patrick Flanagan. Michael, of course, now the president of Flanagan Consulting. Thanks to you both for your time tonight on Newsmax Prime. To the Big Apple, Sam Nunberg. You hear Mr. Trump talking about negotiations all the time, but what is your take on Iran's latest aggressions? 3 occasions now. We know about the Iranian attack boats approaching our vessels in the Persian Gulf.
Well, look, I think the big thing I got from that forum last night, JD, I don't know if you heard, but basically Hillary Clinton said she supports the Iranian nuclear deal, and she actually took responsibility for it, even saying that she started it during her the negotiations during her reign as Secretary of State. And as the congressman was saying before, we have not seen something like this. You know, the worst part about us paying the Iranians these ransom and giving them this money is the fact that there are judgments against Iran for their terrorist acts, for killing Americans in these in the Marine barracks, for other incidents. And at the same time, Obama continues to give the money to them. And by the way, we also know that they're not going to follow this deal. And it's already been reported by Reuters last week that special exemptions have been made with the Fordo facility, which was literally just being built to make nuclear bombs.
Michael Patrick Flanagan, you are there in Washington. You served with me in the Congress. What should the legislative branch be doing to stop this administration from making these ransom payments to Iran without the approval of Congress?
It wasn't very long ago where the president didn't have $1.7 billion at his fingertips to spend any way he wanted to. I don't know where he gets the money in the first place. I mean, does he call Jack Lew at the Treasury and say, print some for me? I don't even know where he gets the money in the first place. But Congress, you know, there's a point where you reach where you either are going to control the situation or you're just going to let it be. I think they're just going to let it be. But if it were me, I'd be asking to turn off funds to the EOP, the Executive Office of the President, and just say we're going to go without salaries at $1,600 until somebody explains where you got the $1.7 million, out of what pocket you looted that money, and when you're going to put it back or how you're going to put it back, or we're just going to decide that pocket doesn't need any money from anymore, and we'll get it done that way.
I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, MPF, but with our experience on Capitol Hill, you know what really worries me? No matter who wins this presidential election, a possible lame duck session of Congress, because quite frankly, Paul Ryan has been like Boehner. The Obama administration has walked all over them, and Congress has opened its pocketbook. Should Congress say right now, no lame duck, no how, no way?
I think they could say it. I think the Executive Office of the President will say, so what? Or will probably say nothing, but will giggle to themselves, and nothing will happen. If you've given up, like Hillary has given up the idea of ground troops in Iraq, okay, so you've taken the biggest club off the table, and you're never going to bring it back. Congress long ago gave up the fact that we're going to punish this administration in any way, shape, or form. Boehner did that. McConnell's done that. That we're going to try and work around it, but we're not going to ever exert the rights of Congress over the government. Well, once you've decided you're not going to do that, the president does as he pleases. And I think he's going to continue to do as he pleases until somebody decides to actually turn off the money. I want to know where the 1.7 came from. The president doesn't have a slush fund. He doesn't control funding. He doesn't have extra money laying around. Where did it come from? That's a question, not how to turn it off, but where did it come from is a question no one's asking, and I'd love to know.
Fair enough. Let me ask another question of Sam Nunberg in the minute we have left. Oh, Sam, what came out of last night's forum as we circle back to politics in this presidential race? Who looked the best in your opinion, and does it augur well for that particular candidate?
Well, I thought that Donald did extremely well last night. I mean, he was able to speak. You know, the difference in the communication styles, you can just see it's night and day. You know, when you see Hillary Clinton, it's almost that she's talking down to you, as opposed to Donald, who really knows how to communicate to the masses. In terms of policy, obviously, you know, I think the Russian answer was very problematic for Donald, but he seems to be consistent on this Putin thing. But Hillary Clinton gave a lot of problematic statements herself. I mean, first of all, she said that we didn't lose any Americans in Libya. I mean, I would remind her of Benghazi.
Yeah,
She
just
said
that
we
little
don't have
matter of
troops in Iraq.
Benghazi. Yeah, just that little matter. Hey, listen, Sam and Michael Patrick Flanagan, we want you to stay right where you are, but still to come. Do you remember this saying? Live long and prosper. Though Mr. Spock has left us in real life, Star Trek continues to thrive, a half-century old today. That's part and parcel as we take a quick look back in history to September 8, 1966, and other subsequent September 8ths. But coming up next, did Libertarian Gary Johnson blow his chance as an alternative to Trump or Clinton? Our political panel discusses the Johnson blank this morning on Morning Joe and what it may mean to the race. That and more when we come back. Welcome back, and as we take a look back in time, we would note that many presidential campaigns turn on the tongue. A well-honed remark can help make the difference to the eventual winner, while a slip of the tongue can turn another candidate into a loser. Today, an epic slip. Ed Berliner reports on the lapse of the Libertarian.
Who the hell is Gary Johnson?
He's the former two-term governor of New Mexico and self-made millionaire. Gary Johnson is taking his second run at the nation's highest office.
Gary Johnson has been fighting an uphill battle ever since he announced back in January he was tossing his former gubernatorial hat into the ring for president. As of this morning, his website still pushing forth a positive message that he remains the alternative candidate and is getting close to a magic number.
On change.org, petitions to help former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson get some exposure are growing.
What is a libertarian in broad brushstrokes? Fiscally conservative, socially accepting, tolerant.
Almost 5,500 have signed this petition on behalf of the Libertarian nominee. It notes the Commission on Presidential Debates requires a candidate to poll at least 15% nationwide.
There's that magic number, 15%, the polling number Johnson has to hit in order to be invited to take part in the presidential debates, something he and his followers are well aware of, that if they don't get to the big stage, their chances of making a real impact on this race are just about buried in the New Mexico sand. Johnson's greatest push comes from those on the Republican side, not happy one bit with Donald Trump and seeking alternatives, as in the case of former presidential candidate Mitt Romney.
I'll get to know Gary Johnson better and see if he's someone who I could end up voting for. That's something which I'll evaluate over the coming weeks and months.
However, after Gary Johnson's performance Thursday morning, Governor Romney and others may have to rethink their position.
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
About
Aleppo.
And what is Aleppo?
You're kidding.
No.
Aleppo is in Syria. It's the epicenter of the refugee crisis.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Well, thanks for playing, Gary Johnson. You may now make other plans for debate night.
Okay, got it. Got it.
JD, it's all yours.
Thanks, Ed, and let's get some immediate reaction. Still with us from Newsmax Washington, my old congressional colleague Michael Patrick Flanagan, and from Newsmax New York, attorney Sam Nunberg. Brother Flanagan, since you and I have stood at the bar of public opinion in election campaigns, we heard how Gary is going to have to get to 15%. Does this morning's gaffe basically end any chance for him to get into the debate?
Well, I think it does, and I think it's not so much that the gaffe was that horrible. Everyone has a little lapse in a moment where they don't really hear quite right or they don't get it quite right, and Johnson's not an idiot. But the point is that he can't afford a Dukakis in a helmet moment. He can't. He has to be on his game 100%, looking brilliant and bright all the time to make it to even 15%. And this is enough to have people walk away. I think what's really great is I'd love to see some interviews with the Never Trumpers explaining their support for Gary Johnson. That I would enjoy immensely.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Mitt Romney has been thoroughly reprehensible. I mean, closed circuit to Mitt. I'm sorry, there's no polite way to put this, pal. You make me want to barf. So that's just what I had to say there. I'll try to clean things up a little bit. Sam, the libertarians out there, so much of their attraction seems to be to legalizing marijuana and basically bringing our military back for a fortress America, will Johnson still have enough of core support to figure in this thing in 2 months' time on election night?
Yeah, you know, he's going to have a major impact on this race. I mean, look, I think he's basically taking Colorado off the table for the Trump campaign, and he seems to be doing a number on the Trump campaign in Virginia as well. And then you also have to remember that the underticket is the highly respected Bill Weld, who, by the way, had he been on the top of that ticket, I'm sure they would be at 15% right now, and they'd be ready to set to go in that debate. And he basically has taken New Hampshire, New Hampshire has put it into Hillary's column. With that said, though, I'm still not sure how much money they're raising. I haven't been following it that closely. I know they made a somewhat substantial ad buy. At the end of the day, one thing we do know from all these cycles is, of course, when there's a third-party option that the pollsters are asking about, they tend to get higher than they actually get on election day. And I'm not sure his number will end up being that high, but I do think, once again, he's taken Colorado away from the Trump campaign. He's hurting him in Virginia. Florida, he's problematic for him. But he is, by the way, helping him in Pennsylvania. Ironically, the majority of these voters in Pennsylvania of his support are disinfected Bernie Sanders voters, who he's taking away from Hillary Clinton. So we'll see.
Well, yeah, the other thing we'll see, as I listen to this talk about this kind of liberal Republicans lament, Bill Weld, Gary Johnson. Hey, Brother Flanagan, is it time for the Libertarians just to change the name of the party to the Republican Retreads, or to the Rip-On Society? I mean, you know what I mean here. You got malcontents like Mitt Romney and establishment types like the Bush family sitting on their hands. Maybe they can start a PAC, the Aleppo Fund for Gary Johnson. Is that plausible?
I think what you see here is that Johnson has been regarded, completely unvetted, as superior in all ways to Trump, just not nominated. And I think with the Aleppo comment, you've now pierced that. And you have to say, well, maybe this guy's an idiot. I don't think he is, but that's now a fair question. And now Johnson's going to have to defend that without a platform, without a podium, without being at the debates, and without a bag of money to do it. So the never-Trumpers, who consider themselves smarter than the average bear, are now off saying, well, I can't say I'm doing Johnson out loud anymore, and I won't do Trump, I won't do Trump, I won't do Trump until Election Day comes and they do Trump. So I think it's a paper tiger all the way around, and I'm enjoying watching the never-Trump crowd squirm.
Well, talk about squirming, although I guess Hillary tries her best to suppress a squirm. She was pressed on what she called a mistake in having a private email server and why it should disqualify her as commander-in-chief. Let's listen to the way Secretary Clinton tried to spin it at last night's forum.
The real question is the handling of classified material, which is, I think, what the implication of your question was. Classified material has a header which says top secret, secret, confidential, nothing. And I will repeat this, and this is verified in the report by the Department of Justice. None of the emails sent or received by me had such a header.
Huh. You know, I'm glad I have you two gents trained attorneys, because you hear in Hillary this kind of lawyerly evasion, where she said there was no heading. Isn't that because she and her staff agreed that there would be no designation as classified when they sent all her stuff to her personal email in the first place, Flanagan?
It's worse than that. I held a cosmic top secret. That's actually a classification. I didn't make that up. A cosmic top secret clearance when I was in the service many years ago. That means NATO top secret. And there's a cover sheet, there's big stamps, it's in red all over, that kind of thing. But that's the document so that
Apparently, we've lost Michael Patrick Flanagan. Maybe it's because he started to talk about his cosmic top secret status. Sam Nunberg, if you are there in Newsmax, New York. Now, I don't know if, if you had that kind of cosmic top secret status that Brother Flanagan had in the war, but how much trouble is Hillary in with this server? Is it going to be the issue that takes her down, Or are there enough gender firsters and leftists to say we're in for Hillary no matter the extent of her crimes? Got about a minute.
I think that Donald's going to be able to do serious damage to her in these 3 debates when he brings this up, and he looks her straight in the eyes. I mean, the fact of the matter is, JD, as you and I both know, there are specific emails that have been released which Hillary clearly says to take the C off, to take off the classified designation or the confidential designation and send them to her server. And she knew exactly what she was doing. And she just continues to look at us and lie. It's almost like if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. So I think this is going to hurt her.
All right, well, I appreciate that, Sam. Apparently, we've restored contact with Michael Patrick Flanagan, Newsmax Washington. Flanagan, when you mentioned your cosmic top secret status, they took you away. Now, very quickly, the point you want to make on Hillary, can she overcome this stuff? 30 seconds, brother.
I'll tell you, what the cosmic top secret is, it has all these markings and stuff have to do with a physical document in your hand, a thing so that you know what you're holding. Documents are transferred on email through special servers and special concept. They're called a zipper net. And you know everything you're looking at is classified because you're on that net. When you've left the system, what you get is what you get, and you need to know whether it's secret or top secret or whatever. And she decided that wasn't important. Well, just because you've decided it wasn't important doesn't mean it's not important, and she has failed us, not the other way around.
And it sure ain't legal to do that. Michael Patrick Flanagan, Newsmax Washington, Sam Nunberg, Newsmax New York. Gentlemen, you have our thanks. What is past is prologue. When we come back, a historical moment that had us looking to the future. Newsmax Prime continues.